Hello there, YouTube. We are back with the second installment of our Grind to Net series. For those of you tuning in for the first time, this series is my way of trying to showcase some of the preparation that I'm going through as Nationals approaches within the next month or so. And this is something that we very well may continue going into next season as, myself and the rest of the team looks to qualify for next year's competition. So, if this is something that y'all are loving, then we'll definitely look to keep this series going. We had a ton of great feedback on our first episode, so thank you to everybody who tuned in, as well as thank you to, everybody who threw out suggestions and some feedback. Hopefully you guys enjoy some of the changes that I made to the video and the series, and, as always, if there's anything else you'd like to see or anything else you do differently, please do let me know. I'm always game to try to adjust things so that we can give you guys something that you enjoy watching and give you guys a great experience overall. So please do let me know. Hit up the socials that are linked down in the video description below, as well as hit that like and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, let's hop right into the video over here. So the meta for Nationals this year will be a combination of Booster 2.0 with a slight augmentation in the form of the upcoming LM set that will release here in the English side of things on December 13th. Now, the LM set's main pieces will include new cards such as the Scrambles, along with the Gem Memory Boosts, which are sure to provide multiple decks with extra speed and consistency and really help make decks stay a little bit more relevant in a very fast and powerful meta now. They will also feature the new level 7 Ace cards, which are sure to bring a powerful top-end threat to several decks featured as well. So we're going to get Ace cards like Gabu Bond Ace, Agu Bond Ace, Shivamon Ace is a very strong card, along with Sukuyamon Maid Mode Ace too. So there are a lot of new Ace cards that are coming to play here that should make things even more interesting in the meta. With that all being said, the big question that really shapes my deck building as well as, my practice is, well, what are we going to be playing against, right? You really want to be playing against decks that are going to be prevalent at the big tournaments. You don't want to be practicing against decks that you might see as like a rare one of or sort of a spin-off. Like, you want to be practicing against the big hitters of the format. And to answer that question, I would like to reference this particular graph here, which is a shout out to Reddit user Coffee Deuce. Coffee has been taking results from multiple events across the English side of the game and compiling a chart here using a sort of a neat points and ranking system, which has been really cool to see from an analytics perspective. But essentially in this graph, what I'm really going to focus on today is the first top 2 quadrants here, right? So if we start off with the top left, these are decks that really just kind of sneak into the occasional top 16. They're not your consistent big hitters of the format. They're strong in their own right, obviously, which is why they top, but they're not ones that are going to be like 2 decks in top 16 every single event, right? These are decks that kind of sneak in every now and then. So you do see decks like Shine Greymon, you see the Omnimon Ace deck, you see Magnamon X, not really differentiating like Armors versus like Yellow Vaccine Magna, but I mean, Magna X is still, like I said, a very strong deck. And you have decks like Lucemon and whatnot, which again are strong in their own right, but will not be those consistent core group of decks that make top 16. You do have to be wary of them, but you're not always going to see them at the top table. So you do need to know how to play against these decks, but I wouldn't be like sweating to see like 5 Shine Greymons at Nats. Maybe I'll be wrong, who knows. But moving into the top right, this section comprises the decks that I feel like are personally like the core group of decks that have the best chance of topping every single event that we go into, right? Like, these are the decks that you expect to see top tables comprising the majority of the top 16, and are really the decks that if you want to do well, you should either know how to play against them or know how to pilot them really well. So the core group here consists of Lord Nightmon or Lord Knight X, Red Hybrid, Fenrir Lugamon, my boy Mirage Galgamon, and Purple Hybrid. One thing I will point out is that Imperial is not necessarily in that top quadrant in Coffee's graph, which is an interesting thought. We're not going to delve into as to like exactly the reasons why Imperial may not be in there, but I do believe it's because of decks like Mother Shoto, particularly being prevalent in North America, and you got new cards like Shadow Seraphi Ace with a lot of big blockers, the Digivolve, which really kind of put a wrench in the game plan of Imperial. But then again, I think with all that being said, I think Imperial is still a very, very strong deck. It's a deck that can go very quickly and can go very powerful too. So I definitely think it warrants a spot in the like big six, if you want to call it that, of the core decks to know and to know how to face going into nationals. So I'm definitely gonna put it in there. I also think we should consider the like Armor's Magna X variant of like the Pyildramon with Magna X as a top end, as opposed to Imperial, as something that also is part of that group. So I'm gonna lump that deck into that sort of Imperial like Vmon deck, I guess, if you want to call it that. But yeah, so I think that's sort of the meta we're preparing for right now, and the rest of this video is going to focus on, and the rest of this series for the next few episodes is really going to focus on how I approach each deck, and also going to try and show you some gameplay of me playing against these decks to show, you know, combos that I'm able to pull off, as well as combos that you should be aware of playing against these decks, regardless of your deck of choice, right? My deck is Mirage Galgamon, or sort of the Get Blue Galaxy variant of Mirage. But a lot of these decks have game plans that you can still execute outside of Mirage, right? So hopefully these videos do give you a little glimpse into that. Alrighty guys, so today's episode is really going to focus on Red Hybrid and how I approach that particular matchup. And for me, going up against Red Hybrid really is just a race to the finish line. You know, it's a very, very powerful deck that has the potential to just blow through your security and pin you against the wall in the blink of an eye. And as you've seen on quite a few of our match play videos, Jarrell has shown just how effective and how efficiently he can get 5 checks in with just a promo Goonie swing, right? You pair that with, you know, access to Ancient Greymon from BT17 and its ability to simply just pop your boss monster, whether it's on play or on Evo. You can really just imagine how aggressive this deck can be. And for me, you know, I have a core group of cards that I really like to focus on going into the matchup. So we're going to kind of go over a few of those right now over here. Obviously, the first two, first and foremost, are going to be sort of the core of the deck in general, right? Going up against like most of the meta's matchup, these two cards are probably my MVPs of the deck. Lunamon is the rookie you want to see almost 99% of the time. When you do mulligan, you want to see if you can get a Lunamon. Obviously, you take any rookie you can get, but Lunamon just allows you to pop off so many combos and really just helps you print memory in the way that this deck likes to do. So Lunamon, definitely a key player, and Mirage obviously is one of the biggest floodgates in the game and a very, very powerful level 6. There's a reason so many of you guys wanted hit. There's a reason that it's been definitely on the radar to get hit very soon. It's just a very, very strong card, and definitely helps with the whole memory printing aspect of this deck. But now to kind of move on to the more like Red Hybrid focused cards, definitely Hexablaumon from EX7. Hex is one of the cards that I feel like just almost like wins you this matchup, right? Because number one, it locks down a lot of their combo plays. They're not able to pop off as they usually do. Being able to prevent any when attacking effects from activating is very, very key and very important for this matchup. Obviously, there are ways for them to kind of evo on top of a line and kind of stack their hybrids to kind of circumvent Hexablau's sort of like floodgate effect, but at the same time they have to work for it, right? And they have to have all the hybrids in hand to do so. So I think Hex definitely slows their tempo down a whole lot, and not to mention the fact that you can also remove their tamers from play is huge. Being able to go into a Hex, more often than not strip all their sources and take away a tamer, can be game changing and very debilitating for Red Hybrid decks. So Hex, because of that reason, I almost am tempted to bump him up to 3 in my list, and there's a very, very fair chance that I tinker around with a list that runs like a 3-3 split of Mirage and Hexablau, because it's so good against Red Hybrid, it's so good against Purple Hybrid, and it's also very good against decks like Lord Nightmon too, so I really, really like Hexablau. And two cards that I feel like are a little bit underrated and don't get as much love as a lot of the other core pieces to this deck are both Lekis and Cressimon. Cressimon is sort of nice because it has that sort of pseudo Hexablau effect where you can stop something from suspending till the end of their turn. So really does work against like Magna X, decks like Red Hybrid that prevent things from swinging again for extra aggression. So, not a bad card. And also can help you evo for a cheaper cost as well, depending on what stacks you have on board. But the real reason I want to highlight both of these two cards is their inheritable, which is you are able to buff up your boss monster by plus 2k DP during your opponent's turn. So if you can imagine, if you have both a Lekis and a Crescimon underneath your Mirage or your Hexablow stack, you're potentially looking at a 16k DP body, which really forces Red Hybrid players to climb up that extra DP buff to kind of get rid of your stack, right? And sometimes, it's easy for them to do so, but more often than not, they kind of have to spend that extra resource and spend that extra, hybrid or inheritable to get to where you want to be. So I really think this extra DP buff is huge and can help really stifle some of their removal plays. And the idea honestly rings true for any deck that likes to DP buff their boss monsters. Like, for example, Magna X, Lord Nightmon. When you have DP buff, you get around so much battle protection, you get around DP reduction. And I think it's a huge way to just make sure that your top ends live, which if you're running both Mirage and Hexablow, those are two very, very stifling top ends. And if you can get them to stick on board for as long as possible, you're in a really, really good spot. Which is why I do like these two particular cards, and I do feel like they do come up pretty big against in the Red Hybrid matchup. Also note that BT17 Ancient Grey, its effect to pop depends on their DP, right? So it's a base 12k body, and most often you're going to be able to buff Ancient Grey via its inheritables, and that's usually by increments of 2k. So as a base 12k, if you can buff your boss monster to like 15, 17k, you're typically in a good spot to try to survive an extra turn. If you can stack multiple ones of these and buff your boss monster up to, like, for example, 18k, you can confidently just stick your body on board and feel very, very good about it staying until the start of your turn. So that is definitely something that I feel like playing against Red Hybrid, you should definitely keep in mind, is if you are able to DP buff your boss monster or bodies that you want to keep on board, that is one way to circumvent their removal, and can also help keep up your tempo, right? If you can keep your stuff on board, you can really push against their tempo that they're pushing on you. So that really does about it for sort of the cards in my deck that I wanted to highlight. And now we'll kind of talk about some cards that I feel like you need to watch out for when you are playing against Red Hybrid. And two obviously very important cards here are the BT17 Ancient Grey and the Promo Aguni. If I had any copies of BT4 Ancient Grey, I would definitely put him up here, but I sold all my copies, so I don't have access to him anymore. But definitely be wary of BT4 Ancient Grey. Like I said before, BT17 Ancient Grey is both removal and aggression in one package. A very, very common play that Red Hybrid players will be doing nowadays is that they'll have a Flamemon in the back, and then they'll just pass turn, evoing into an Agunimon and raising. Now, this Aguni is very, very flexible, where not only when you can proc its when attacking to just evo into an Ancient Grey, you essentially can also just evo on top from like Aguni to a Burning Grey, and then go Burning Grey into Aguni and kind of string along combo plays there and utilize the promo's inheritable to reduce your evo cost into an Ancient Grey even more. So this promo Aguni does a lot of work for Red Hybrid players. It's very, very scary to see this guy in raising, because you don't know if you're going to get swung for like 2 or 3 checks or just 5 checks. Seeing this guy as a Red Hybrid player, it's like they're it's a core piece of their engine for sure. So definitely be wary of a Red Hybrid player just having an Agunimon and raising, and they can go crazy, So you really need to be wary of like when you time your plays too, right? If you know that they can push aggression and go into like an Ancient Grey, sometimes it's better to just wait an extra turn if they can't OTK you. You know what I mean? So that way you don't lose any stacks that you potentially push out. So definitely be wary of these two. Another card that has become a lot more popular in Red Hybrid builds here is Analog Youth. Analog Youth is really, really good for keeping tempo for Red Hybrid players. It's a 2-cost tamer to just drop, and also helps them search. But on top of that, the main thing that it's utilized for is obviously when your Ancient Greys, whether it's BT17 or BT4, You do the combo, they end of turn delete themselves. You can go ahead and suspend Analog Youth, you gain the memory back, you can hatch, and you can either set up a stack in the back for next turn, or just go hybrid for game. There's a lot of things that Analog Youth can do in red hybrid now, which makes the deck even faster. And what's crazy is that, purple decks like Dexdoru, Fenrir typically like to see Analog at like 2 or 3 to really get benefit. Red hybrid really only needs like 1 or 2. Really good red hybrid players will find a way to combo into an Ancient Gray, pass turn at 1 or 2 memory, suspend their analog use to keep turn, and push even more aggression. So definitely a card to be wary of. And another tamer to be wary of is the new Takuya Koji dual tamer. The reason that you need to be wary of this card, number one, it allows them to kind of tuck sources underneath, which, if you can imagine, if you can just go ahead and tuck a promo Aguni underneath, you can go ahead and do some nasty combo plays and evo into an ancient for an extremely cheap cost. But what's really nice about this is it's inheritable, where end of turn, this Digimon with hybrid or 10 warriors can go ahead and attack a player. So it's almost like a pseudo Blitz Omni in a sense, where you do have to be wary of red hybrid being able to wipe out your security, having a live Takuya Koji and just evoing hybrid over it, and then they can swing for game. They can pass turn, but they can still swing for game. So do be wary of this tamer. I think for me, if I'm ever getting into a hex and I can bottom deck, the Takuya Koji, 100% of the time, I'm getting rid of this guy. Because if I can just force them to play it out again, it's a 5-drop. So more often than not, they're playing it off of on deletion effects. You can really just set them back a whole lot. So I really will target my opponent's Takuya Kojis for sure if I have the opportunity. And then Analog Youth, I typically don't bottom deck because they don't get much hybrid advantage off of it. But, it is something that to be wary of, that they can utilize Analog Youths to keep turns. So definitely something to keep in mind in the late game. But yeah, I think these are the cards I wanted to highlight and some of the combos I wanted to highlight. But, we can talk about this all day. We can yap about this all day, but we really won't, see this into practice unless we play some games, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to hop into DCGO. Shout out to Wong again and his team, and we're going to play some games against Red Hybrid. Alrighty, guys. So Jarrell has volunteered to hop on. He is going to be playing Red Hybrid, so let's kind of see how things go. Okay, so if we're going second, I actually don't really hate this hand. We've got a good Galmon to evo in the back with. We've got both Galgamons and a ton of search, and we're going second, so I think I go ahead and keep this. I'm not too afraid right now. Did I accidentally hit Mulligan? Whoops. Anyways, honestly, the Mulligan's not bad either. Seeing Hexablow against Red Hybrid is, as I said before, one of the key things that I want to see, so I'm pretty happy about it. What scares me is that Jarrell already has the promo Aguni in the back, which is a little scary. But let's see how things go. So we do have the Luna, which we'll go into. And I think over here, the training going to 2 from 0 or from 0 from 2 is a little rough because I give him memory to work with. So I think what we do here, just to kind of cycle a little bit, is to play this Galmon out. Choke to 1, we both draw a card, which I guess does help me out a little bit here with the Galgamon, and we'll see what he can do. But he's probably going to be doing some Unga Boonga stuff already here. Oh boy, here we go. I can hear it already. So this is the scary thing that Red Hybrid can do. He's going to use this Burning Graze when attacking to evo into, as we saw here, this Agunimon, which will then allow him to Digivolve into an Ancient Gray, which is the BT4 Ancient Gray, and he will just check for everything. So far, pretty good hits from me. Oh my gosh. Oof. Okay. So end of turn, we do see a Burning Gray leave the field. He does have the ability to play out a hybrid. And then he'll use his Flamemon effect to play out his Tamer. So pretty solid, good start from Jarrell there. Let's see what we can do. If we don't see a level 5, we're pretty much short out of luck. So let's see. So we will definitely push up. I think it is very fair to bounce the Galmon back just to give myself a little bit more memory, especially since we are missing that level 5. So what I'll do is I'll training into the BT16 Galga. Hopefully off of the Evo and the draw we get something. Unfortunately, we don't see a level 5, which is a bit scary. And I think we have a couple options here. Because we have the Lekis, having the ability to tuck this guy could be helpful, just to gain some memory and play the training out. But we'll go ahead and play the training for 2. See if we grab a level 5. Perfect. So we do grab the Huangkun here, which is exactly what we want to see. Because we are going to be able to go into Hexablau here and just kind of stunt any shenanigans on Jarrell's end, which I think is very, very important here. So what we'll do, I don't think... The question is, do we burn the Lekis and potentially not have a level 4 to work with next turn, which is my concern. So we're just going to go straight into Huangkun. Huangkun's effect will let me play out something, which will go ahead out and play the Lunamon, which will gain me a memory from the Bukamon. And then I think it is very fair here to just go straight into the Hexablau. 4. We'll be able to bottom deck his Tamer, so no end of turn hybrid shenanigans. This Aguni is a little scary because he could just go Burning Gray, like stack the Burning Grays on top of it and go for it. But we'll see. See what he can do. But Red Hybrid doing a turn 2 5 check. Pretty much just... Okay. Well, that's just rude, Jarrell. So he will go ahead and pop my Hexablau, which is a little rough, and then he will pass it over to me. We will go ahead and hatch. I will keep the Lunamon, obviously, here. But we'll go ahead and do this. I think it's fair here to do this. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and training into the Lekis here. We will bottom deck, which is why I don't love evoing into the Lekis, but it does give me sort of the capability to, what's the word for it, to kind of like tuck and cycle. So we'll go ahead and use the Lunamon effect to gain 2 memory, which will then allow me to evo into the Galga. Go, I believe it is... It's okay to do this. Can't suspend. Go ahead and now do coincide effect, so that we'll do the Cresse. Gets tucked to allow me to go into a Huangkun here. I think Jarrell might have this, if I'm going to be honest with you. His hand size is pretty small, and I'm only going to be able to choke to 1. And there's no way for me right now to prevent his Flamemon from doing shenanigans, which is a little tough. It is a little tough. And I don't gain the memory there, so it'll be for 4. I'll gain 1 and then gain 1. So yeah, I think Jarrell might just have this here. Because unless I have a Gabu... No, I don't even run that card now. So it would only really be Imperial Ace. That would be an ace threat right here. But unfortunately, Imperial Ace also is not going to stop the Flamemon from going. So it looks like Jarrell will get game 1 here. Which, again, you know, turn 2, 5 checks. Not really much I can do about it. Seeing Hexablau was a good counter to this. Getting rid of his Tamer. But again, like, 5 checks. Trying to prevent another one from going with... Okay. What you doing there, sir? But yeah, go 5 checks, turn 2, and then being able to, unfortunately, not really have any other defensive options is tough. I think Jarrell's just... Yeah. So Jarrell does get game 1. Let's see if we can do a little bit more here. But yeah, I mean, I think going first here, this is not bad. You know, you have a Lunamon, you have a level 4, you have a Surge. I think we definitely keep that. But, I mean, this is why Red Hybrid is so scary. You know, I do think that it has the potential to just absolutely plow through a lot of opponents with how quickly it can get set up in the right way. So, you know, something to definitely be prepared for. And when they do what they do, sometimes there's nothing you can do. You can be as prepared as you want or prepared as you can, but sometimes it's just, there's not much you can do. So he's got a pretty good start once again with the promo Aguni. The Flamemon to play a Takuya on deletion is also pretty good. And looks like just to choke to 1, he is evoing into the Burning Gray here. And right now, you know, I don't think I need to be in too big of a rush. He doesn't have a Tamer set up, so I'm just going to keep in the bag. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop a boost. Just to see if we can pick up that level 5, which we do see here. The question is, do we pick up Hex or do we pick up the Cresse? I think because you're needing the level 5 right now, you have to pick up the Cresse. It is tough seeing the Hexablow go to the bottom of the deck, but, you know, again, not seeing a line versus seeing a level 6, which we already have one of, I'd rather just pick up the line and go into a Mirage right away. Okay, so it looks like we're not going to be going into the Goonie play here. So Burning Gray will just check for the 6. It hits Madoki and lives, which is pretty good. Let's see how he's going to pass turn here. You know, and another thing to be wary about when playing against Red Hybrid, as we saw with the previous round where he went into the like Ancient Gray to just pop my Hexablow. You know, Hexablow is my best sort of counterplay to Ancient Gray. But a lot of times when you're dealing with a deck that can just pop on play with that new Ancient Gray, it is tough because he can easily DP climb and my bodies are just cannon fodder. So I think here it's fair to just go ahead and start pushing up. We do want to start dealing with board state here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and crack the boost to go to 3. Go ahead and go Cresse for 3. And then we'll make it so that the Flamemon can't suspend, because if we are going to be bouncing a target, I'd rather bounce the level 4 9 times out of 10. Deletion plays a Takuya. So yeah, most definitely I don't want to be swinging into this guy to give him a Tamer to potentially play out. So I think the play here is to just go Mirage for 4, establish that. We're going to go ahead and bounce the Aguni so he doesn't get his on deletion plays. We'll gain 1 memory off of the Gao and then 2 off of Mirage to choke to 1. So I think a pretty good play here. Definitely sets up good aggression. We don't have jamming, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, Mirage as a 12k beater can be pretty good here too. You know, especially against hybrid decks, more often than not, you will live at 12k, so I don't think I'm too afraid of that. I'm just more afraid of him like going into a Burning Gray and popping my stack, which right now I've kind of limited his ability to do so. And he just goes ahead and does it again. Fair enough. So we'll do that for the full cost of 6, and then that will pop my Mirage. Okay, so I guess we just go again. So yeah, I mean that is what Red Hybrid can do, which is pretty good. Pretty good. So let's see. Is it worth it to... He does 2 checks. Doesn't have a Tamer out, so I mean I think my best bet here potentially would be to just he can't OTK me right now. He would have to... Yeah, this is tough because he could just swing for everything here, but I could choke to 1. The problem is aggression with Red Hybrid is in a state where if he is if he just has the right pieces, like putting me at 0 security, I have to OTK. Which is tough. Which is very, very tough. Yeah, I think we just commit to staying in the back. You know, we just build up our stack in the back and kind of go from there. I think that is our best play. Unfortunately, we just choked to 1. You just kind of have to hope that I can OTK him next turn. I think that's sort of what we have to play with here. So training is good. Training is very good. Coincide doesn't really help me as much here. He did not push up the Flame Mon, so I'm living in an okay spot. The question now is he going to drop a Tamer, which he very well could. Or do that, which is even more scary. Okay, that's fair. We're going to go to 3, so we got to do something here. The fear as well is that, you know, hitting into security, you could always accidentally poke out a Tamer, which would be unfortunate. And that would give him sort of the hybrid to go for game with. But in a situation where we're down to 1 security and he has 5, I think we do have to play a little bit aggressive here. I don't think you really have much of a choice. We'll go ahead and play the Luna, which could be helpful. Gain the memory. You have the Galga as well that'll gain additional memory. Go to... Sure. I think we do this. Let's see. Okay, we do have a Cresse. We do have Cresse, which is good. We have to pick up Coincide, and then we'll just bottom deck these guys. And then... Go into Mirage here for free. In the memory, and then we'll be able to use the second one here potentially, I believe, to do some nasty things. How do we want to do this? So I think what we can do now is go ahead and use this Coincide to now Evo into the Cresse. And we'll go ahead and stun that, which I think is going to be pretty good. Then we'll use Lunamon's effect to gain 2 memory. And then we'll go ahead and play Wang Kun. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So this is really good. Getting into Hex was what I was hoping to draw into. So go ahead and use Wang Kun's effect to spit out the Lunamon. And we're going to be able to do a pretty good play here, which is go into Hex for 4. Which will go ahead and effectively take out the sources here, stun the Ancient Grey even more, and then now Aguni. Obviously, Aguni can still Evo twice and swing, but it forces Jarrell to have to actually like go ahead and do stuff, right? Like he can't just go ahead and now promote the promo Aguni, swing, and then go into the Ancient Grey. He has to kind of work for it a little bit. And I'm threatening a position here where I could potentially go for game because Hex will be able to swing 2 checks. Granted, we don't have jamming, which would have given me a little bit more to work with, but it does present a very favorable situation for me. Oh. Okay. Go ahead and Aguni again. Looks like we are going to be able to just pop the Mirage. Okay. But we do keep the Luna, and it gives me 9 memory to work with, which I will take. I think because we're at 9 memory, we're just going to keep the Lunamon there. There's no reason not to, right? Yeah. So I think we're in a very, very good spot now, particularly with this Galga. So let's see here. Okay. So I think we can do this. Go ahead and do this, Lekis. And that's even better. I think that's actually really, really good here. Pick up this Lekis, bottom deck those 2, unfortunately, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we're able to kind of do some shenanigans here with the Lunamon. Tuck underneath to go into the Galga. Bulk up the hand size a little bit. And then... So the question now is going to be, how do we want to go about doing this? Because Hex could give me 2 swings. Or 2 checks. Tuck that underneath, but we don't. So what we're going to try to do here is do it in a situation where I'm cycling a little bit just to maybe find some pieces, but I'm hoping to utilize Hex to go into, I think Paladin mode might be the better option here. But let's kind of see where things go. We're not going to attack just to negate that. But what we'll do is go ahead and go Cresse here for 1. Cresse effect will go ahead and stun 1. We'll just go ahead and stun this one. Let's see if this works. We're playing out the Luna for 3. Now the idea here is to go into this Galga. And we did not draw into something, which was a little bit unfortunate. But we can do this. We'll just go ahead and gain the 2 memory. Cool. This Galga is huge, actually. That helps me out a lot. Okay, so I think we're in a pretty good spot here, because what we're going to do is we are going to do this once again, utilizing Lekis' ability to do that. And then we'll Evo into Mirage here for 4. So I think we're in an okay spot. Yeah, because once we do this, we're going to be able to now utilize jamming. Because now we don't care about DP, and now I'm in a situation where I can go ahead and swing with Hexablow for 2 checks. We will use this to tuck the jamming card underneath, which is why I was hoping to sequence it with the Galga. And then we'll go ahead and swing. And that'll just about wrap up today's video, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, today was a pretty red hybrid focused video. In the future, we'll be looking to highlight the other decks that were part of the 6 core decks that I mentioned earlier on. So we'll be doing like purple hybrid in the future, Fenrir Lugamon, the mirror matchup, and all those other things, just to get you guys a little bit of variety and also show you how my preparation is different for a lot of these core decks that we're probably going to be seeing come that season. So let me know what other feedback you may have. Let me know what other suggestions you have for this series. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in once again. Please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button as always. And hopefully we will catch you on that flippy flip. Bye-bye.